Before Joe Mixon was acquired to be running back one, before Danielle Hunter showed up to team up with Will Anderson to create a fearsome pass rushing duo, and well before the addition of star wide receiver Stephon Diggs, one of the biggest wins of the Texans offseason was keeping this guy. That's right. Bobby Slowik sticking around for the Texans for 2024 was a huge win for the Texans this offseason, and it sets them up for a huge potential level of success on the offense in 2024. Yes, the likely succession plan would have been quarterbacks coach Gerard Johnson, who was in the building, would have been the offensive coordinator, and they'd have run his style of offense if Slowik left for a head coaching job. But ultimately, he didn't, and there would have been some changes. Well, with Slowik sticking around and Gerard Johnson sticking around, it means that the Houston Texans have their top offensive minds back for another year and allows them to get even deeper into what Bobby Slowik's potential is as an offensive mastermind and a play caller in this league. Now, look, 2023 wasn't always perfect. Slowik had some growing up to do. He had some learning to do. That was the first time he had the headset. He was putting in the plays. He was deciding what to run and when to run it. And there were some rocky moments. Remember Carolina, the failures to get in the end zone and settling for field goals in Atlanta. But my goodness, were there some fun ones. Shorthanded, making it happen in Tennessee. The Tampa game, which was one of the most thrilling all season long, and ultimately annihilating a Browns defense that had taken care of the Texans just a few weeks earlier, albeit without CJ Stroud. Slowik had plenty of wins in 2023, and he gave us a nice, fun base to look at coming into 2024. Second year in the system. Hey, Bobby Slowik, what does that second year still being here allow you to do on offense?
When you get to year two, you eliminate a lot of the steps to get to where you want to end up. So the verbiage is more familiar to the guys, where year one, a lot of the strain early on is verbiage. And, I mean, we're still going through that with the new players right now, just learning our terms that other people use, but they call something different, and hammering it in and how we say it and what we teach in that regard. But it definitely expedites the process being in year two, without a doubt.
Just learning and understanding the system. I've always likened year two in an offense, or continuing to have the same offensive mind in the building and not making a drastic amount of changes along the offense. Look, you should have a lot of repeat players on this offense ultimately, and the guys that you did bring in, Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, they should be able to get up to speed pretty quick. I've always likened it to a college class. If the first year on the offense is intro to algebra, the way sometimes NFL offenses operate, that following year could be like a senior level trigonometry class. You can get deeper into things. You can fine tune small things in NFL offenses in the second year that you can't spend time on in the first year. Bringing back so many pieces. Obviously, CJ Stroud is back, but Nico Collins and Tank Dell in their second year in this system. Dalton Schultz, who praised the teaching ability of Bobby Slowik in training camp. Schultz talked about in training camp how Bobby Slowik, if he had been his offensive coordinator in Dallas, he'd be even deeper into the way of understanding things in the NFL. And imagine what he can do now. That was a compliment a few weeks into training camp, a year into this system with so many of the different players. It gets exciting to see what is lurking up there in Bobby Slowik's mind. Does he have that mad scientist gene that some of the great offensive minds in this league have? Andy Reid, Sean McVay, and ultimately where Slowik previously was, Kyle Shanahan. Now, obviously, there's a lot of great offensive minds in the league. The Texans have to go up against one of them in Shane Steichen. He's one of the better offensive minds, but it feels like all of them just have that mad scientist element to them. And year two, you get to see what's in Bobby's beaker, to stick with the science analogy. You know, the beaker that you had to use in science class in high school, all that stuff. I don't know. I didn't pay much attention to science class. I stayed away from chemistry class. That stuff didn't make any sense to me. I stuck with physics. Not that math was great for me either. So I mentioned Dalton Schultz. Schultz earlier in the offseason talked about exactly what has changed from year one to year two, or something that's been altered, and he's noticed as they can get deeper into this offense.
The biggest changes, honestly, have just been making things easier for us. So I think already, like, cutting some verbiage out, creating new terms to, make calls less wordy. For us, it's kind of like, a few things to pick up on and learn. But at the end of the day, it's going to help us kind of get in and out faster, which is what we're all about. Operation is everything. So I think at the end of the day, that'll be very helpful for us. So Bobby's already, been hard at work on trying to figure out what we can improve and build on.
Remember all those issues the Texans had getting the play in, getting the play off a couple of different times early on in the season? They still got it going by the back end of the season, but there was still a moment or two where CJ Stroud took his time getting that thing and let the play clock run down and down and down. If you can get to things faster, if you spend less time teaching, it allows you to teach more things. If guys are grasping this offense faster than they did a year ago, it allows them to get to more of the offense, and it allows Bobby Slowik, once guys understand it quicker and you get to it quicker, it allows him to fine-tune the things that he needs to fix. Because look, Stephon Diggs has been around the league, very successful. Obviously, CJ Stroud has talked about how they were able to run plays that they just practiced in training camp weeks into the season that they hadn't been practicing or running. Imagine if they have all of that at their disposal and they can get to it faster in that catalog of offensive knowledge that those players have, sorting through the folders. Okay, it's this down and distance. Let's go to this. Hey, coach, what if we ran that? Hey, these guys know this. Hey, let's call this. Let's get it in there. And it just gets really exciting for what it can be. Not to mention the fact that they are going to have this same offense with some added pieces to the offense. But maybe the most important element of this Nico Collins addresses. I asked Collins, I said, hey, year two, what does this mean for the offense? And what does it mean for what you can do in this offense in year two?
Yeah, it's amazing, man, to have another year in the system, another year to, open up the book more. Like Dawg said, man, it's like it's a lot of playmakers on that field, man. Like, it's a lot of different ways everybody get the ball. And so I just feel like, man, it's going to make it hard for defense to figure out what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's getting what, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like for us being in the second year as the offense, man, it's going to be amazing, because since I got here, I've been in different offenses a couple of years. So it feel good to go into another year at the same offense, not learning a new playbook, splits, formations, stuff like that. It feels good to go into next season with that edge on your shoulder, man, just, ready to attack, ready to have fun.
Defensive coordinator Matt Burke talked about how you want to know what an offense does and then stop them from doing that. You want to kind of maybe take a guess. He didn't use those terms, but you take a guess on the things that they like to do, and then you stop them from doing that. Well, if you can get deeper into the playbook and you can do more, harder for defenses to stop you. But Collins talked about something I feel like is super important, and it's a super point for him. He mentioned it. Hey, I've done 3 different offenses in 3 years. Well, you know who else has done all that? Guys like Laramie Tunsil, like Titus Howard. There's a multitude of offensive players on this team, guys that are backups or starters that have been through a bunch of different offenses in the past couple of years. So to have that relationship with the offense, to know about it already, it provides a really big jumping off point for this offense. Not just for Nico Collins, who's in offense number 2 after all the different changes that he had early on, but for the offensive line that's deeper in, for Tank Dell, who's in year 2 in the NFL, for the offensive line coach, Chris Strausser, who was coaching a new style of offense a year ago that he hadn't really coached before. Now he's a deeper year into it. Josh McDaniels, the wide receiver coach, and on and on and on. As you get more familiar, you're able to access more, do more, and when you're able to do that, the possibilities start to get endless, don't they? What say you? What'd you make of the offense in year 2 conversation from Slowik, Schultz, Nico Collins, and, well, myself? You excited for year 2 from a schematic standpoint, getting deeper into the books? Damian Pierce once called it the Bible. They very well may be in the New Testament version of Bobby Slowik's offense now with the second year of him at the helm as the top offensive mind in the building. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Throw me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you missed anything from this week, like the breakdown of what happened at Texans OTAs, that video's on the channel. Go find it, watch it, enjoy that one as well. If you're watching this on Friday evening, have a great weekend. If you're watching this on Sunday, hope you had a great weekend. If you're watching this on Saturday, well, then the rundown's probably out. Go check that one out too. Or just subscribe to the channel. You won't have to worry about missing anything right here on YouTube. Appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Can't wait till we talk Texans again soon.